Salam, ciao, bonjour, namaste.
Bienvenidos, my friends. My name is Jed Lee. This is Reading with Your Kids. We are coming to you from the wonderful, beautiful, book-loving neighborhood of Reedville, the loveliest neighborhood in all of Boston. We are so very happy and absolutely delighted that you're joining us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. Please let everybody in your world know all about the show. Tell your family and friends about the show. Tell your kids' summer camp counselors, lifeguards. Tell the postman, tell the school crossing guard that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, Amazon Music, YouTube, Audible. Wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. Really wonderful show for you today. First up, Anthony Peckham is here to celebrate his The Law of Solitude. It's part of his Children of the Glass series. Great book for middle grade readers. And later in the show, Tracy Seagold returns to the show to celebrate her new picture book, Call Your Father. This episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by Fart Boy and Reeky Dog, Dino Doom. Fantastic new graphic novel written by New York Times bestselling author Joan Holub, who's written over 200 amazing books for kids. It's school sleepover at the museum. What could go wrong? Well, how about this? A snack-fueled explosion of garbanzo beans and peanuts unleashes a stink so powerful it brings the dinosaurs back to life. Now, Fart Boy, Reeky Dog, and their friends are in the middle of a dino-sized disaster. They have to solve tricky riddles, find missing bones, and stop the stinkiest villain of all, Professor Gravy Pants. Because if they don't, the dinosaurs could take over. Or worse, they could become Dino Dinner. This action-packed graphic novel is bursting with friendships, adventure, and enough laughs to shake the museum walls. If your kids love superheroes, if they love dinosaurs, and if they love to laugh until they can't breathe, then Fart Boy and Reeky Dog Dino Doom is the book for you. Because sometimes the power to save the world comes from the unlikeliest place. Grab your copy today and get ready for a reading adventure that's truly dynamite. Hey, this is a message for all the authors that are listening. You know, you worked hard on your book. You spent months, maybe years, writing, revising, dreaming, and believing. You created characters, solved problems, overcame doubts, and brought a story into the world that only you could tell. Now it's time to help readers discover it. The Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read program was created to celebrate outstanding children's books and to help authors reach more families. When a book earns our seal of approval, we don't stop with an award certificate. We review the book, feature it on the podcast, share it across social media, and help introduce it to parents, teachers, librarians, and caregivers who are looking for great books to share with kids. Because your story matters. And the families who need your story deserve a chance to find it. Please visit readingwithyourkids.com and click the Authors Click Here button at the top of the page to learn more. That's readingwithyourkids.com. Let your book find the readers it was written for. Join us right now from the beautiful state of California. Our guest is here today to celebrate Book 3 in his Children of Glass series. It's The Law of Solitude. Please welcome to the show, Anthony Peckham. Hey, Tony, how are you?
I'm excellent, thanks. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm really looking forward to learning more about your middle grade novel. This, you were telling me before we hit record, is a high fantasy.
Yes, which means that it takes place on Earth with human beings, some of whom are sorcerers, but it's recognizably the Earth we live in. Even though it takes place back between the end of the time of stone and the beginning of the age of metal. And sort of conjoins a mine of obsidian, black glass, high in the mountains with a giant trading city in the plains that's modeled on medieval Timbuktu, among other things. Sort of Venice meets Timbuktu.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the fantasy part of it, is I get to mash bits of geography and history together.
It sounds like that's your thing, geography, history.
Yeah, I mean, no, my thing is adventure and thriller. It's a thriller, primarily. You know, I come from a long background in writing movies, and I know how to move a story along, and I know how to, make you want to go to the next chapter, which I used to love as a kid.
Yeah.
I love nothing better than a book that you couldn't stop reading.
Yeah.
And so I tried to write one of those, and I call it one because really the trilogy is one long novel. Divided into 3. Each one takes up exactly where the one before it ended.
Yeah. You remind me of when I was a kid. The Batman series it always ended on a cliffhanger. And I remember looking forward to finding out what the cliffhanger was even more than I wanted the resolution to it.
Yeah, although, they get aggravating too after a while. It's like time for a payoff, all right. And we do pay off in the Law of Solitude. It's the climax. It's a big climax and hopefully very satisfying. Scary and satisfying.
Where did the inspiration for this world come from?
It came from a road trip I took with my family long ago on the eastern side of the Sierra Nevada mountains in California, where we stumbled upon this mountain of obsidian high up in steep mountains, and then found out that an arrowhead made from that obsidian had been found right in the sand dunes where we live, 250 miles away and across the mountain range from I lived on the coast, far away from where the obsidian was. And the kids said, how could that arrowhead get there? And I started making up a story to explain that, a sort of a bedtime story, which became, and kids are ruthless, right? If it's boring, they just tune out.
Yep.
And started keeping the kids awake, which is when I knew I had something. And when my wife said, you've got to stop telling this story, go write it. We need the kids to go to sleep. Write it down. And I wrote it down and then put it in a drawer because I was hard at work in Hollywood at the time. And then many years later, in 2020, COVID came along. I was on a production in Baltimore that got shut down on that Friday, March the 13th, 2020, I think, when everything shut down, and I had nothing to do. And after a few weeks of me pacing and muttering around the house, my wife said, "Please go and write something, preferably long, preferably difficult. So stay in your office." And I pulled the pages out of this drawer and started reading them, and they were not as terrible as old writing usually is, and anyone who's a writer will understand when you read your old writing, you cringe. But I thought, hey, there's something here. And so I wrote the first book, and with the help of people around me in Hollywood and in New York, we sold it. During the process of writing it, I realized that it wasn't one book, it was 3. That it broke beautifully into 3 books. And so that's when it became a trilogy.
Yeah. Boy, that was such a strange time. I know my beautiful wife is very grateful that I had a podcast during that time, because she could say to me, "Don't you have someone to interview right now?"
Yeah, exactly. We haven't fully processed that time. I mean, everybody, we just
Right.
haven't processed it. It gave the rest of the planet an enormous break from us, in a way. And it made us stop. So for all the horrible things about it, and the things we didn't know and didn't know were going to work or not work, it made us stop for a while, which I think, for all the damage it's done to our kids in many ways, it's also been very valuable. So, it was a strange time.
Very strange, very strange. Tell us a little bit about the characters that we're going to meet in this novel and series.
Well, it's a brother-sister saga, right? And I wanted to write a book that boys as well as girls would enjoy. Their names are Tel, the brother, and Ren, the sister. And basically, we start the story as their father is injured mining black glass. Their mother's been gone for 2 years. Nobody knows where or why, and nobody will tell them. And so with their father injured, they break every rule in their very kind of strict village life and decide to take that season's load of black glass down to halfway to trade it, to get medicine for their father and supplies for the winter. And so with the help of their trusty mule, they begin this journey down the mountain, knowing that they may not be allowed back by their village, but having to do it to save their father.
Yeah.
And so they're brave and resourceful and rebellious right away. And these are kids who know how to feed themselves by hunting and gathering. They're very tough. They're very kind of already physically scarred by the very harsh landscape they live in. And they're kind of a formidable brother and sister, even though they at the beginning are 14 and 12. And they reach this huge city that they've only heard about many times after a very dangerous journey, and realize that they know absolutely nothing about the world they're about to step into, literally through a gate in a giant wall into an environment they don't know anything about.
Yeah.
And so that's the fun of it.
Boy, I'm imagining, I can see myself as a kid really just kind of eating this up, devouring this.
I would hope so. You know, I remember, and my son, I have a 15-year-old son, if he feels as if you're trying to sort of instruct and improve him, he will just run away, right? And I bet we did too, you know. But so that's why this is a thriller first.
Yeah.
But buried in the thriller, and it's twisty and dark, but buried in the thriller are things that are important to us and to our children now. And so I'm hoping that they sort of just percolate out of the story as you turn the pages. I never use modern words for the things that I think are important, like resilience and adaptability in a time of change, and sort of self-realization, things like that, that they just do. The characters do and are and find for themselves.
Yeah. So
I hope that inside the twists, turns, and thrills, that is there.
Yeah, it sounds like it. The reason I think I would eat this up is because even now, I mean, I've been watching these videos from a mountaintop village in Peru called La Rinconada, where there's illegal gold mines, and it sounds very much like the world that you've created, where people are just kind of there. It's a little bit lawless. People are, just trying to survive by mining gold.
Yeah. It's very much the equivalent of that.
Yeah.
And part of the fantasy of this is that there is no other source of obsidian, of black glass in the entire land. And yet it's very valuable and very hard to get. And yet they remain really poor, the village, because they get ripped off down in the big city. So it's, I try to create a world that you love being in, and are continually surprised by.
Yeah. Tell me, what's the biggest different? It's the biggest challenge for you coming from the world of screenplays and scripts to telling stories through a novel?
First of all, it was much bigger than I expected.
Uh-huh.
How difficult the change was. When I started writing the first book, I just thought, hey, storytelling. I know how to tell stories. But as it turned out, not so much, I really had to unlearn a lot of the things that had come naturally to me in screenwriting. A screenplay is all present tense.
Mm-hmm.
All I can write is action and dialogue. And I can describe characters and place and time of day, but very sparsely, right? So I had to learn not to write scenes in novel form, and everything's broken into scenes. And so I have a very, very patient editor at Simon & Schuster called Caitlin DeLuey, who helped slowly wrangle me away from screenwriting and towards novel writing. And so for me, anyway, each novel gets better.
Uh-huh.
Everyone should judge for themselves. I become a better writer, so that the one that's coming out in July or soon is to me the best of the three. And I had to learn to dig into characters, allow them to have memories, allow them to have, go into their feelings and hopes. And it was, once I got the hang of it and started doing it, I felt it was the most luxurious thing I've ever done as a writer. It was just beautiful to be able to, fully describe something.
Mm-hmm.
So, and not depend on a director and actors and scene, stage managers and so on to help bring my idea to life. It was all just me. So I love it. It's wonderful.
I remember the first time I noticed, really could grasp the difference between reading a novel and watching a movie was Dennis Lehane's Mystic River.
Oh, yeah.
And there was this one scene where the dad is kind of frustrated with his teenage daughter. She didn't come home. There was a first communion. She missed it. And he's frustrated. And then he hears that there's a girl in the body in a park down the street. And in the movie, it's dramatic and everything. But, boy, in that novel, you're inside his head. And you just like, and I'm like, yeah, the books are always better than the movie.
Well, they're different is the thing. Even if you do exactly the same thing, they're different.
Yeah.
They work differently. So I've made the transition, as they say. I don't know that I could really go back and write the screenplays of these books.
Really? That's interesting.
Well, I would really have to sit down and sort of repurpose myself.
Okay.
To do that. I mean, I would love for that to happen, but it would be difficult. I'm under no illusions. When I was a screenwriter and we were adapting novels, we try to keep the novelist as far away from us as possible. And now I know why. So.
We talk here on the podcast a lot of how most traditional publishers don't let an author and an illustrator of a picture book or a graphic novel have any communication with each other at all. And it's good to know that in the movie adaptations it's the same thing.
Yeah, no, and I mean there are sort of sound reasons for that.
Yeah,
in a way, sadly, because it would be much more fun to hang out.
Yes.
And sort of talk story, but no, we'll see. Yeah. I may not be able to be in the same room with myself.
You mentioned that you're able to create those cliffhangers to, get people to turn the page. Is that skill something that you can share in like a little capsule form with us today?
Well, I don't know if I can give it definitively, but I would say that what I do is I know where my story is going to go, but I don't know how it's going to get there.
Uh-huh.
And I sort of every day paint my characters into a corner, and have them figure out how to get out. And that's what often leads to the surprises that make cliffhangers. Also, you just sort of become attuned to a cliffhanger in general. And when you hit one in your own story, you stop. That's where the chapter stops. So you sort of do it backwards, right? When you reach, when you reach one and you use it.
Okay.
But I have my eye out for them at all times. You basically, for anyone starting out writing, go find a book that has the best cliffhangers and sort of study how they are. Study how the story does that, how it leaves you, what that final paragraph or sentence is in the chapter that makes you want to read the next chapter. It's a part of a craft, right? It's a skill. It's not an accident. And sometimes I read books where I go, "Oh, you should have stopped there and gone on to the next chapter. You've buried an absolutely beautiful cliffhanger right in the middle of a chapter." So that's not really a good answer, but you have to think about them and look for them.
Yeah. I guess, it's a skill. You have to be able to, you think you're going to go to mile 5, but it's better to stop at mile 3 and just let it breathe.
Absolutely. Especially if mile 3 really makes you have to go to mile 4.
Yeah.
So yeah. It's, musicians, I am told, I'm not a musician, but my wife is, that you learn how to play with other musicians. You learn how to listen for the way they play and play with them. And it's sort of with writing as well, as you learn to listen for certain things in your writing or look for certain things that you can use in that way.
I think The Law of Solitude and the entire series would be a really fun book for a parent and kid to co-read, and then to come together at the dinner table or on the way to soccer or ballet and kind of talk about what kind of conversations do you think families can have if they're experiencing the book together?
Well, first of all, you're right. And I know a lot of families who have read the book that way, on road trips or together. A lot of grandparents like the books because they can read them with their kids, with their grandkids. And there's something there for the adults too. So I think they can read at many different levels, and a lot of teachers like teaching these books because they have these layers where you can talk about just what happens. But there are things like honor and courage to talk about. There are things like, as I said before, resilience and adaptability at a time of uncertainty to talk about. There are, the kids are creative and clever in how they solve the problems they run into. And their bravery is something that they've learned. They're just sort of not dumbly, naturally brave. They've learned how to be brave. It doesn't mean they're not scared, right? They've also learned how to deal with bad things that happen. And so I think fiction, and novels in particular actually, is a great area to safely explore some really uncomfortable stuff. And to discuss them in regard to the characters in the novel rather than in regard to yourselves, which is a more delicate process, right? So that's what I've found. A lot of the parents have found really, wonderful and helpful about the books, is that there is a lot to discuss that is pertinent to today.
Yeah, just that whole idea of kids being able to feed and take care of themselves, at a time where some kids have a hard time pouring a bowl of cereal for themselves.
Exactly. And these kids are very competent.
Yeah.
Highly competent. And it's a wonderful attitude to life to go, well, I will fix this. I will do this.
You mentioned that this is book 3 of a trilogy.
Yes.
Are you going to miss these characters in this world?
Oh, absolutely. I love them. And I'd imagine sometimes you write characters and worlds and stories and you get sick of them. And it was the opposite for me. I love them. I'm going to miss them. I deliberately wanted the story to end with a family, a village, and a city being in charge of their own futures. And so I don't want to give away too much, but at the end of the trilogy, many of my characters go on into a world they don't know about yet.
Uh-huh.
They proceed. It's not like they end when the story ends.
Right.
They've grown enormously through the course of the trilogy, and now these grown people, even though they're young, go out into the world. Not all of them, but they go out into the world to see what's there, feeling as if they are competent to face anything they might come up against.
Yeah. Interesting. I imagine the kids are going to love kind of imagining what's going to happen to these characters after the book.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I am. I do. I've had a number of people now say, well, there's more, right? And I say, my characters have more. I don't know if there are more books.
Okay.
Maybe.
We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Yes.
Hey, in the meantime, let's tell everybody where they can go to find out more about The Law of Solitude, Book 3 in the Children of Glass series, and find out more about you, Tony.
They can go to any of the platforms that they like to get books from. Mm-hmm. For myself, I like the independent bookstores, but if you want Audible for a road trip, it's all available everywhere you buy a book. And you can find out more about me on my website, anthonypeckham.com. And I have Insta at Anthony Peckham Writes. And that'll give you a version of me anyway.
Okay.
And access to more if you're curious.
Wonderful. We've had a really fun time speaking to the author of The Law of Solitude. It's Book 3 in the Children of Glass trilogy. Our guest has been Anthony Peckham. Tony, thanks so much for being with us.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you.
This episode of Reading with Your Kids is sponsored by Ramble Office. Before I tell you about Ramble Office, let me tell you about what travel used to look like for me. When I take the Reading with Your Kids studio on the road, it was like a lot. I had one box for the mixer, another case for microphones, a satchel for my laptop, cables everywhere. And I always felt like I was forgetting something. That's why Ramble Office really clicked with me. Rambo takes everything I used to juggle, tech, gear, personal stuff, and puts it into one smart, great-looking unit that's designed to be a mobile office, not just luggage. Everything has a place. Everything stays protected. And when you get to where you're going, you're ready to work. Instead of digging through bags or repacking your life every time you move, Ramble keeps your setup organized and ready to deploy. Travel days stop being chaos and start being productive. It's sleek, modern, built for people whose work doesn't stop just because they're on the move. And if your job follows you, whether that's podcasting, teaching, consulting, or creating, Ramble is worth a look. Go to rambleofficeanywhere.com, all one word, rambleofficeanywhere.com. Use the promo code READ, R-E-A-D, and receive 5% off any product. It's exclusive for Reading with Your Kids listeners. Check it out today, rambleofficeanywhere.com, promo code READ. Hey, my friends, if you are like so many people I know, one of the favorite parts of your morning is that first quiet cup of coffee before the day gets rolling. And recently, I discovered a company I think a whole lot of our Reading with Your Kids family, you're just going to love it. It's called Afuera Coffee Company. What really caught my attention is that Afuera works directly with local farmers in Central and South America, especially in El Salvador, a nation I adore. And all their beans come from certified Rainforest Alliance farms. So you're not just getting incredible coffee, you're supporting ethical farming and environmental conservation too. And friends, this is not ordinary supermarket coffee. These are specialty, hand-selected beans grown in rich volcanic soil, and you can taste the difference. Smooth, rich, aromatic. Whether you love a bold espresso or a lighter roast, they really do have something for every coffee lover. Another thing I love, their packaging is compostable or recyclable, and 5% of every sale goes to charities that help preserve the great outdoors. Because they're sponsoring Reading with Your Kids, I arranged an exclusive 15% discount for our listeners. Just head on over to afueracoffee.com and use the promo code READ at checkout. And yes, when you use that code, you're also helping support the podcast. So great coffee, helping farmers, helping the planet, and helping Reading with Your Kids. That's a pretty magical combination right there. I love when I get to say hi to guests that have been on in the past, coming back to celebrate new books. Our guest is returning to Reading with Your Kids to celebrate her new picture book. It's called Call Your Father. Please welcome back to the show, Tracy Gold. Tracy, how are you?
Thank you so much for having me. It's so fun to be back again with another amazing book from Familius, Call Your Father.
Yeah, our friends over at Familius. What a great little publishing house.
Yes, I love it. And Christopher Robbins, who's the founder, also has a dad book called Fly Fishing with Papa. So I always like to kind of plug other Familius books because they really make beautiful products that make just gorgeous gifts.
Yeah, they really do. And they were such a big supporter of the podcast when we first launched back in 2017. And Christopher came on the podcast and I learned so much from him. Like, for example, Tracy, I had no idea, and I almost fell off my chair when he told me that it can take 2 to 3 to 4 years from the time he buys a manuscript until the time a book hits the bookshelf. I'm like, what are you, like, drawing every book individually?
I know, it's so interesting. When Call Your Mother, which is another book I have with Familius that came out before Call Your Father, when it came out, everybody was like, well, when's Call Your Father coming? I was like, oh, well, actually, like 2 years from now. So it just the illustrations take a long time. And then, I don't know, do we want to talk about this? I always think people are interested in this because they're like, wait, why is it taking your book so long to come out?
I think so too.
And it goes into a sales catalog because the bookstores and retailers buy it early. And then most of these books, there's like a line at the printer. Mm-hmm. So some of them get printed in my other book with them, Everyone's Sleepy with the Baby, but the baby got printed in Mexico. Sometimes they get printed a lot of the times it's China. Sometimes it's Italy. So they get printed. They need to get shipped. Everything takes a long time. Mm-hmm. And Familius really also doesn't cut corners because they make sure that these books are just absolutely beautiful and that every detail has been looked over.
Yeah. I remember during the pandemic, there were so many books that they had a pub date and it just kept getting pushed back. And back because the books were sitting on a boat out in the middle of the ocean that couldn't dock because it was a line.
That actually happened with Everyone's Sleepy But the Baby. I had this huge pre-order campaign. I had events planned around the launch date. And then it got lost. We knew it was somewhere in Los Angeles, but they couldn't find it. So it was, I think it only got pushed like a couple months, but it's also interesting because Call Your Mother and Call Your Father both came out like 2 or 3 months before Mother's Day and Father's Day.
Mhm.
And after what happened with my first book, where it got lost and it got pushed, I was like, okay, I'm glad these are coming out. So even if it does get delayed, it'll still be right before Mother's Day and before Father's Day.
I'm sure people like walking around going, how do you lose 10,000 books?
Well, it was during COVID. I mean,
Yeah.
everything was so chaotic and people were getting sick, people were dying. So it was like the least of our worries at the time. At least it wasn't toilet paper, right? Then that would have been our real worry. If the toilet paper shortage.
I can just see it now. I talk to my grandkids in 20 years from now going, and back in my day, we had to wait in line for toilet paper.
Yeah.
So, tell us about Call Your Father.
Yeah, this book is so fun. I really wanted to showcase that dads can do pretty much everything that moms can do. And they can deal with the baby waking up in the middle of the night. They can deal with bathroom emergencies. They can deal with some of these really softer emotional moments that I think normally moms are stereotyped as the ones who would, for example, comfort a kid who's upset that they lost a baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
In this book, we get to see dad doing this. I think we have this stereotype that moms are always the ones involved at the school. In this book, we get to see dad involved with the school. He comes in to help when his child witnesses bullying. So it's dad coming in and not mom. And in Call Your Mother, there's no dad really in the book. In Call Your Father, there's no mom really in the book. So we get to really focus on each parent, and there's nobody like being lazy in the background while the other parent does all the work. So it's just a really fun way to highlight all of these ways that dads are more and more being encouraged and stepping up and taking a more equal role in parenting.
Yeah. Well, I know myself because of, the flexibility of, making a living doing educational magic shows,
Right.
and, having a lot of time. And my wife was a teacher, so I absolutely was the one who was involved with the PTA and doing lunch duty and all that other kind of stuff. And I loved it.
Yes. Yes. And also I've been talking a lot about grandfathers with this book, because at the end of the books, both Call Your Mother and Call Your Father, spoiler alert, the dad from the beginning of the book becomes a grandpa. So the baby from the beginning of the book becomes a dad, and then dad becomes a grandpa. And when grandpa comes to help with the newborn baby at the end of the book. And when I was drafting this book, some people were like, well, would grandpa really come to help with a newborn baby? And I was like, yes, my dad helped. My father-in-law helped. I know grandpas who are childcare on a regular basis for their families. And I think for, in my parents' generation, a lot of these men did not have the flexible jobs like that. And they really see getting to spend this time with their grandchildren as a shot to do all these things that they missed out on, and turns out are really special and an amazing part of being a parent or a grandparent.
Yeah. We haven't been blessed with grandchildren yet. We do have some grand dogs that I love taking care of. In fact, I woke up with the grand dog this morning.
Oh no.
and we have a neighbor. It's really cool. We have a neighbor down the street, and every once in a while we're asked to kind of hang out and take care of Finn, and that's a lot of fun. He's a really cute kid. He has blonde hair that's an afro that is just out of control.
My goodness.
It's like walking around like this, and you see his hair. It's just great.
My kid used to have hair like that, and I loved it so much. But when she was about 4, it straightened out. So take all the pictures of your curly haired children.
What was the inspiration for both Call Your Mother and Call Your Father?
Yeah. So with Call Your Mother, that's a funny story. Just the phrase is really where it started. My grandfather used to always call his son, my dad, and say, Carl, call your mother. And then my dad would call his mother, my grandma, and she would say, why don't you ever call me? And he would say, well, calling you right now. So that's kind of where the phrase came from. But the book actually pushes back on that vision. I think we have some of these visions of like nagging grandmas, right? And my dad is Jewish. So that's like the stereotype of the nagging grandma. So the book actually pushes back and really celebrates that relationship of when you call your mom, she's always there, if you're lucky. Not everybody is that lucky. So I hope that it encourages people to call their moms even when they don't need them. Because I think that is another, that adult relationship with grown children and parents, is very special.
Yeah. 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 It really is. It's funny. My daughter, and our grand dog, stayed over last night, visited with us. And, it was funny. My wife comes out, she walks past, my daughter was working in the living room, and my wife walks past her and comes out on the deck with me, and she goes, so is she staying over tonight? And I'm like, you just passed. Why didn't you ask her?
Yeah. Well, she was working. She was letting her work.
That's right.
Because if she gets interrupted all the time, maybe she won't come back to hang out with you guys as much.
See,
right.
You women are so much smarter than me. I'm
Oh man. Well, yeah. My husband and I both work from home. So, it is sometimes we have to remember to treat each other like coworkers and not like husband and wife. I'm probably, I don't know, this may be a tangent, but I bet people can relate. Like, oh, like if this were my coworker, I would maybe ask if they had a minute to chat before
just going over and saying, stop what you're doing. I need some attention.
Yeah. So, post-COVID life has some interesting new social dynamics.
It really does. It really does.
Yeah.
The world has changed. I'm assuming working from home, that's something that you're very comfortable with and enjoying.
I did it before COVID. Okay. I love working from home. I am like the most fake extrovert you could imagine. Nobody would ever think that I'm an introvert because I love people. But when I need to get work done, I think the problem is I'm like such a people pleaser and I'm always aware of people around me. So if I need to do my own stuff, I need to be alone. Yeah. I wasn't the kid who studied in the library during college. I did an open office when I joined the workforce and it killed me. So I love working from home.
Yeah.
My husband has a rotating cast of people come to work with him at home. So he's less suited to me, but the commute time, I mean, when you talk about parenthood, working from home is such a gift because there's all that time in the car or the train or whatever that is not time that you're spending with your kids.
Right. Yeah. I agree. As someone who has this beautiful, luxurious studio in his basement. And it's funny. I tell my wife and she's like, where are you going? I go, so I'm off to work. And she goes, oh, yeah, commute.
It's so nice to have a room of your own, right? That's Victoria Woolf's. There's a foundation actually for focused on like getting women artists a room of their own. So a place where you can close the door and that's your workspace. I think for women, there's working at home and there's also all the work of the home. And I have seen my husband struggling, now that he's working from home. It's been a few years, but how do you decide whether you need to be running the dishwasher or answering an email? So now both of us get to struggle with that.
Yeah. Well, it's not for everybody, but if it works for you, I'm very comfortable with it. I think they're the same with homeschooling. If it works for you and the kids, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me, so when you're creating a great book like Call Your Father, You need to be in the room by yourself. You can't have the distractions. What's your creative process like?
Yeah. So picture books are really funny. My first picture book that got published, Everyone's Sleepy But the Baby, my kid was like 1. So I actually wrote that, I believe, while holding her on the notes app on my phone.
Okay.
But then when I sit down to revise, in that book, it had a very set rhythm, but it didn't rhyme all the way. Sleepy mommy, sleepy daddy, sleepy little dog, everyone's sleepy but the baby, yawn, yawn, yawn. So it still kind of has some slant rhyme, but I did sit down and make sure that there was a close slant rhyme for every single stanza. So to do something like that, I need to read the book aloud. For picture books, that's such a huge part of my process, is reading the book aloud. And it's very hard to do that when you're not in a room by yourself. So I can kind of write a draft anywhere. But when I'm sitting down and revising, and the sound of these books is so important to me. For that, I really need to be by myself.
Yeah, I can imagine if you're working on a line and you're saying it over and over and over and over again, someone hearing that might be like, "Would you stop?"
Yeah, I can't really do it at a coffee shop.
Exactly. Yeah.
But then I do read them. I do read my books now that she's older, to my kid. And now she can even read them back to me. So it's helpful for me to hear other people read the books, because you can get stuck in your head with how you think something should sound, but it's not the way that someone else would read it.
Yeah, it's like, why aren't you shoehorning that word in the way I do all that? What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Tell me, what does your daughter think about her mom being an author?
Oh, well, I'll tell you a funny story. We were at a book festival this weekend. I have so many funny stories about like author life and her. And I was like, all these kids are here and they're so excited to talk to these authors. It was the Chesapeake Children's Book Fest. There's about 20 authors, and the library has a voucher, so all the kids can get a free book. It's an amazing festival. And I was like, oh, these kids are so excited to talk to these authors. And she's like, well, can't they do that anytime? Because she's so used to, like, not only does she have me, but my friend Kathy McMillan lives 10 minutes away. So she's like surrounded by authors all the time. The other funny story is that she is, of course, playing with writing her own stories. And so I have Call Your Mother and Call Your Father. She has written a draft of a manuscript called Call Your Pet. And she has taken all of her friends' pets. So we have like dogs, cats, bunnies, lizards, and all the times that you would need to like call your lizard. So like, if your lizard's feeling cold and you don't want him to mold, call your lizard. It's just like, it's so fun.
Hello, Christopher. We got another hit on it here.
Call your lizard. Let's do it. I can't play her this podcast because she'll be so hurt. But,
no one steal that idea.
Because she really wants to publish Call Your Lizard. And I'm like, well, there's such a thing as too niche, sweetheart. Maybe if anybody wants her to, I can send you the draft of Call Your Lizard, and we can illustrate that one with stick figures for you.
Sounds like a plan. Did you always think that you were going to be writing kids' books when you were young?
No. Well, I've written my whole life. I'm one of those like kids who has just piles and piles of journals full of silly little stories and sweet little stories that I wrote. I went to a literary arts magnet school for high school, which was amazing. A public school with a literary program. I wrote a lot of poetry in college. I was an English major. And then I started writing short stories. And at that point, I read The Hunger Games and I loved it. And I thought, well, I could write a young adult novel. So I started trying my hand at young adult fiction, got my master's of fine arts in publishing and writing at the University of Baltimore, and wrote a bunch of young adult novels, got a bunch of rejections from literary agents, got a lot of really close, but not quite. And then got married, got pregnant, had a baby, and I just started reading so many picture books.
Mhm.
And I realized that I could really do that because I had this poetry background. I had the short story background. And then I just was getting this amazing education in picture books from reading them to my own kids. So they just kind of started coming out of me. So yeah, it wasn't until, gosh, I guess I was like 30 or 31 and I had my own kid that I realized that I could write a picture book. I also had to learn that you don't have to be an illustrator. That held me back for a really long time. I thought that I couldn't write picture books because I wasn't an artist.
Uh-huh.
And in some way, I mean, if you are that like amazing multi-talented person who can do both, there are more opportunities for you in the current picture book market. But there's still plenty of picture books that are manuscript only and you get matched with an illustrator. So that was like a watershed moment for me.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that way. It's like, yeah, I have a great idea for a picture book, but I can't draw, or I can't do the illustration. Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and if there are people listening who maybe have a manuscript, maybe have the words, I would just say, do not hire an illustrator, because the publisher, if you are lucky enough to get a yes from a traditional publisher, the publisher finds and pays the illustrator. And I've run into so many people who have spent money on illustrations and just don't realize that.
Right.
But there's also a thriving self-publishing picture book world. And for those you do, pay the illustrator.
Yeah. Let's tell everybody where they can go to find out more about Call Your Father and find out more about Tracy Gold.
Yeah, absolutely. So Familius's website is a great place to look up Call Your Father. It's available pretty much wherever books are sold. And my website is tracycgold.com. And I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads at Tracy C. Gold.
We've had a great time speaking to the author of Call Your Father, great new picture book, from our guest, Tracy C. Gold. Tracy, so nice to have you back on Reading with Your Kids.
Thanks so much for having me.
Hey, we hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids and will join us for the next exciting episode of the show. As always, if this episode made you smile or gave you something to think about, please consider sharing a link to the show with someone you love. In fact, please think about somebody who loves podcasts, and please consider sharing a link with that person. It would be really helpful to us, and I have a feeling they'll thank you for it. Also, would love for you to leave a 5-star review and, of course, subscribe to the show wherever you find your favorite shows. We love it when our guests, our listeners, connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram, at Gently Magic on X, our YouTube channel, youtube.com/readingwithyourkids, and our website, readingwithyourkids.com. That is a great place to go if you want to read our full certified great read reviews. It's also a great place to go if you are an author and you're looking to let the world know about your book. Check out how you can be a guest. Being a guest is fun, it's easy, and it gives you the chance to tell thousands of Kidlit fans all over the world about your fantastic children's book. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful, starting with our guest, Anthony Peckham. Please be sure to check out his Children of the Glass series, especially Book 3, The Law of Solitude. Great middle grade series. Also want to thank Tracy C. Gold. Please be sure to check out Call Your Father. And if you haven't done so already, this would be a great day to call your father. Want to thank my team, Galen, Rose, Advina Lopez, Chris Doherty, Ella Badier. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the love and support she brings to my life. Most of all, we all want to join together and to thank you. You are amazing. You have so many responsibilities. You're working so hard, and still you find time to make the world a better, more empathetic, more caring place. And you do that every single time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, shalom, ciao, bonjour, namaste, ciao. read those streets to the ocean wide. Families reading side by side. Every page is a magic ride. Open a book and come inside. Different voices, different lands, different dreams and different plans. But every child understands. Love grows stronger hand in hand. Reading with your kids tonight. Turning little moments bright. One more story, one more smile. Making memories all the while. Reading with your kids each day helps your family find its way. Across the world we all believe books can help our hearts achieve. From the loveliest neighborhood in Boston town, where kindness lives